Most people simply don't think about what their stuff is made of until it breaks, melts, or just doesn't work the way that it should be working. For me, I've always been curious about why materials work the way they do. But it wasn't until one school project that I realized there's a whole field dedicated to exactly that. And once I got into it, I didn't want to stop. Hi, I'm Nikhil Saravarjula, and I'm a high school student who's really passionate about exploring the intersection of science, design, and real-world impact. Over the past couple of years, I worked on projects ranging from wildfire detection technologies to building communities around materials science, and I'm always looking for ways to turn curiosity into something tangible. Today, I'll be telling you the story of how I fell in love with materials science engineering, and I hope that it somehow can spark a passion for you in the field that I've come to know and love. So the first time I really dove into material science was in my sophomore year during a project for the Dublin Engineering and Design Academy. I was building this idea called Ember Sentinels, a wildfire detection system. I knew that I wanted it to connect to chemical engineering because I'd already fallen in love with chemistry during my freshman year. While doing research, I stumbled across something called thermochromic and chemochromic reactions. Basically, materials that change color based on temperature or exposure to certain chemicals. And yeah, that might sound like some random science fact, but in the concept of my project and the implication that I was facing, it was a complete game changer for me. And that's when I started to learn how these reactions actually happen, how the molecular structure shifts, how pigments can be engineered to react at specific triggers. And I just remember thinking, this is insane. You can literally design a material itself to visibly respond to the environment. And that was the first moment where I thought, okay, this is more than just chemistry or physics. This is a whole world of possibilities waiting for me to tap into it. And then when I moved from just researching the concept to actually building this project, that's when it really hit me that this is what I actually want to do. It wasn't just about the final product, but it was about understanding all the science behind it and realizing how you can shape that science to actually solve problems. And so after that, I started to see material science everywhere. In cars, the way that composites, metals, polymers, the way that they all come together to balance different strength, weight, and safety requirements. That's what led me to start my Driven by Design blog series. In fragrances, the chemistry of scent molecules, how they interact with the air, your skin, and even packaging materials. That's what inspired my fragrance brand, Nessence. It changed the way that I look at every single hobby and extracurricular that I had. And suddenly, I wasn't just using things. I was actually curious about what made them work and how I could improve them. But here's the thing. As a high school student, material science felt extremely difficult for me to get into. First, there aren't many opportunities for high schoolers in material science. Second, the ones that do exist are often not engaging at all. It's a professor reading slides, and even if you're involved in a lab, it's so broad and generic that it won't connect to any of your personal interests, and you might not see that spark the same way that you would if you were engaging with the material science in your own project. And there was absolutely nothing to help students relate material science engineering to your hobbies or give them a starting point like a template for their own projects. And so that's why I started Materia MSE, to create a space that's student-driven, extremely relatable, and inspiring. A place where you can actually see how material science engineering connects to your life, your passions, and your future. But I didn't want this to just be a blog you read once and move on from. I wanted Materia to feel interactive, a place where students and even people who have already established themselves in the field can dive a little bit deeper into different aspects and different materials concepts through accessible explanations, where they can explore perspective from peers across the world and even use project templates or shared guidance to bring material science into their own extracurriculars and experiments. What really drew me to starting this initiative and what made material science and engineering my personal goal was realizing how broad and versatile it is. We all have different interests. Maybe you're like me and you want to explore cosmetics, petroleum, or sustainability. Or maybe you already know the exact field you're aiming for. Either way, having a grounding in material science is extremely powerful because it gives you this different lens that you can use to understand pretty much everything and the stuff that everything is built on. Whether it's cleaner energy, safer cars, or smarter tech, MSE will give you the foundation you need to innovate and connect disciplines that might feel worlds apart. If you've never heard of material science, I want you to take away this. It's worth exploring. This is a field that's only going to become more and more important. From sustainability to AI to every single product you physically interact with daily. And you don't need to wait until you have a PhD to make an impact. You can start now. Your voice matters in material science engineering, and I hope you'll share it with us at Materia.